Every interaction you put out there, you're actually training your audience on how to work with you.
When I got into the agency digital marketing, like kind of mentoring thing, it was, having done it 10 years myself at that point, I never actually planned to mentor anyone else. And I just had a lot of folks that were asking me, like, how are you doing your webinar stuff? And so I put together a little event in Toronto. And then on somewhere on day 2 or 3, we found out you were putting an event down the street. And I was literally, people said, how do you get people into the webinar? I said, oh, I just use Facebook ads and Nicholas Kusmich's perfect ad template. And then there's
Sure.
somebody's like, he's down the street. Why don't we go crash it? We never did crash the party, but that would have been,
that would have been a great story to tell if you could have pulled that off.
there's just 12 random strangers. But then we thought, it'd probably be a little awkward, especially if we're not welcome. I mean, we would have been cool, but
Hey, if I knew you were part of the internet marketing crowd and we had some extra time, we could have probably had some fun with that.
so brother, I wanted to start with really something that you've put out there. Like I said before, your free stuff is better than most people's paid stuff, and I know you haven't you've been kind of quiet on the download last little while, but you have some awesome stuff on creating lead magnets, and you created an acronym called SAGE. And
Yes.
I've seen when people go and try and they create lead magnets and put something else out in the world and try and start building a list, they have to come up with 350-page ebooks, and they got to spend 3 months or 3 weeks perfecting this perfect webinar.
Yeah.
And Sage is the perfect mix of actually being useful to the audience and easy for you to create. So I'd love for you just to elaborate on what that is, why you came up with it, and how really anybody can do it.
Yeah, I love that. And thank you for asking. So I think one of the things that people don't realize is the actual role of the lead magnet, right? Some people think that the role of the lead magnet is to generate the lead. And I mean, obviously there's some truth to that. Obviously, we want to use a lead magnet to generate a lead, hence it's called a lead magnet. But the real thing that I found, the real benefit of having a good lead magnet is that it's designed to build authority, it's designed to build credibility, and most importantly, it's designed to pre-frame the sale of the thing you want on the other end.
Yeah.
And if you don't have those things in place, then the lead magnet, and here's a great example of this is there was I was in Australia. We are thinking about moving there years and years and years ago, and there was a street performer, and they were great, and it was almost like stadium seating on where they were doing their performance, and everyone would gather and watch them do their thing, and you'd be watching them. You're like, oh my God, this guy is great. And at the end of the performance, he was so good that everyone was just like clapping their hands, like, amazing, great job, amazing, and whatever. And I love his Aussie personality. He basically like, don't clap, put money in the bucket. Like just put the money in the bucket. I don't want your claps. I want the money in the bucket. And we're like, oh yeah, okay. And he collected some money. But the point is, most people's lead magnets are just like that. They're like, how do I come up with the best thing to entertain and wow my audience? And at the end of the day, the person downloads the thing and they're like, great job, Frankie. Love that lead magnet, man. Love you, bro. And then they just walk away. And you're like, dude,
or
that
even
wasn't
worse,
the point.
can I just say, like, they never even read it. Like, it's a 300 monstrosity that ends up in hard drive purgatory.
Well, that's a good point too. I mean, obviously, if it's too long, then people are never going to get it. And it's an interesting point that you bring that up. And I feel like we're going to go on a bunch of tangents, and that's okay. If you just reel me back in,
yeah, let's go.
Reel me back in. One of the things that people don't realize about the lead magnet is that any interaction, that like any ad that you put out there, any funnel, quote unquote, that you put out there, not only is that funnel or that thing designed to get an outcome, like to create a transaction or whatever the thing is, but with every interaction you put out there, you're actually training your audience on how to work with you, right? So like, for example, if I were to hold a webinar and I tell people there are going to be no replays, and people come and the first thing they ask for is like, oh, I can't make the date and time, send me a replay. I'm like, oh, okay, all right, here's a replay. I am training my audience for two things. Number one, to not take me for my word. And if I say there's going to be no replays, I don't really mean that. That's marketing hype. Yeah. And number two, that you could, you don't have to appear live and in person whenever I'm doing a training. Yeah. And so we're training the market on how we want them to respond to us. So when I used to do webinars, I would say, look, they're one time only, they're not recorded, and there's no replays. And at first it meant people were like, he's bullshitting. There's no way. And they don't show up and they're like, where's the replay? I'm like, sorry, you paid for this and you don't get a replay because you don't know how to read fucking instructions. Right.
Yeah.
So, but over time, what started to happen was people started to realize, oh, shoot, if Nick's holding a webinar and it's going to be at 8 a.m. on, on that day, I better show up. So same sort of thing with the lead magnet. I want you to imagine if you created this 350 page book and you gave it to someone as a lead magnet and they don't read it, what you're essentially training that person to do is, hey, every time I put out content for you, it's okay if you don't consume it. Don't worry about it. No biggie. And I'm actually conditioning the marketplace to say, when I put out something, it's not important for you to finish it. How on earth are they ever going to finish your funnel? How are they ever going to finish your course? How are they ever going to finish your mentorship program? How are they going to do any of that? So all that to say, like going back to the whole lead magnet thing, what was most important to me was to recognize the lead magnet had dual functions. One of the functions, of course, generate the lead. The second function, though, is to pre-frame the sale.
Yeah.
And if we're not pre-framing the next step in the process, then the lead magnet is going to get a bunch of hand claps again, and nobody actually putting money in the little bin and saying, okay, let's do that next thing. So that's when I started thinking about, okay, I hate creating content and I hate creating lead magnets. So you can't force me to sit down and write a webinar or write a 350 page book. Like, it's just not going to happen. I needed a shortcut to be able to produce content. I also needed, when I was looking at an analysis of all the stuff that we put out there, what gets us the most cost-effective lead, number one, but not only cost-effective, what drives those people to take the next step in the process, i.e. buy the thing. And throughout all this investigation and looking at the analytics and seeing what worked, we came up with, again, what we call a perfect lead magnet idea. And again, it's around that acronym SAGE, SAGE, and we'll go over it real quick here for those who may not be familiar with it. But S, and here's probably the most relieving part, S stands for short, right? The beautiful thing about this is we found the most effective lead magnets are 1 to 2 page downloadable PDFs. Not much more, not much less. 1 to 2 pages is all you need. And frankly, if you are a subject matter expert in anything, it should only take you 5 to 10 minutes to come up with something that fills a 1 to 2 page downloadable PDF. Like, totally. You could spit it out real fast, right? So it has to be short. But again, the reason why it has to be short is like, and when I first came up with this, TikTok was not a thing. Snapchat was not a thing. These things didn't even exist. When I came up with this, it was YouTube, and YouTube had like 10-minute shorts. Like, that's what it was. And the reason why we're saying shorts is because, again, Twitter put 180 characters limit on their thing. Everybody put a little bit of a limit on their thing. And the idea, again, ultimately at the end of the day was people don't have time to consume long copy information. This is further reinforced by look at our lifestyle today. 15-second reels, shorts on YouTube and Instagram and Snapchat and TikTok. And like, everything is condensed even more. So whoever's listening to this, take a breath of fresh air and realize that your most valuable piece of content is most likely going to be something that can be spit up in 1 page. And the best part about it is that 1 page should probably have a lot of white space around it and not that much text. Like graphics, white space, information graphics, icons, whatever you need. But S stands for short, the easiest kind of way to spit it out. And again, short means short for the person to consume it, but also short for you to create it on the other hand, right? A, and here's an interesting thing. A stands for applicable or action-oriented, however you want to see that. And the number one mistake I saw a lot of people make was they felt like their job was to compete with Google. And that's like, what content can I give out there that I think people will think is valuable? And so they start competing with Google, and they're just starting to put all this content together. And what I think is important for people to realize is the difference between information and insight. Information is a commodity. You can go into Google, you can go to YouTube, you can go to Facebook, you can type in anything you want, how to create Facebook ads, how to do this, how to do that, how to pick a good image, how to do whatever. And you're essentially competing against Google if all you're doing is producing information. Insight, on the other hand, is very interesting. Insight is what to do with specific pieces of information in order to get a desired outcome.
Yeah.
And if you're the person who can provide insight to somebody, now all of a sudden you're considered a category king. You're considered someone who can really help them. You're considered a virtual mentor. You're considered someone who has credibility and authority. So A stands for actionable or goal oriented. The idea, again, or actionable or applicable. Again, the idea is give someone something that they can take and do something with right now. Not just head theory, but actual practical theory. So that's the A, S-A. G stands for goal oriented. I think one of the greatest revelations I realized was that anybody who is looking for a how-to answer is on a path going from point A to point Z, right? Whatever that is. I want to learn how to play guitar. I want to be better at Facebook ads. I want to build an agency. I want to build a business, whatever. There's a point A and there's a point Z. And so if our lead magnet is designed in such a way to get that person one step closer to their overall goal. Not all the way there. There's no way a one-page PDF can get them from A to Z. But if we can go from A to B, now we've done some pretty impressive things. And here's what I mean by that, Frankie. Number one, if we help someone get a result, this might be the furthest they've ever gone to get a result, right? So let's say I'm teaching people how to lose weight, for example. We can assume that that person has probably read a million books, attended a million webinars, taken a ton of supplements, and they're like, man, I just can't lose any weight. And then I come along and I'm like, hey, if you just do A and B, you'll lose this much weight by tomorrow. And let's say they do that and they lose that much weight by tomorrow. They're like, oh my God, I actually got a result. Second thing they're going to say is, how did I get that result? Oh yeah, Nick helped me get that result. So they answer the next question that we always ask is, what's next? Like, that's the best question a prospect can ask us is, thank you for that. What's next? Well, I'm so glad you asked. Third interesting thing that happens when we help someone get one step closer to their goal is there's multiple reasons why people don't take action, but one of those actions is they don't trust themselves. So 3 reasons why people don't transact. 1, they don't trust you or me. They don't trust us.
Yeah.
B, they don't trust themselves.
Which is often the
C,
biggest one, I might add.
Well, that's just it. Because here's the thing. If it's true that people have been trying to get a result for all these years and they haven't gotten that result yet, at some point it affects their own psyche and their own confidence. And then they're thinking, well, shit, I've tried everything. Maybe it's not everybody else out there. Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm just a failure. Maybe I can't make this work.
Yeah.
But if you provide something that's short, actionable, and goal-oriented, and they get one step closer to their goal, now all of a sudden, not only do they trust you, but they now trust themselves.
Yeah.
They start seeing themselves making initiative and progress, and they're like, okay, I could do this. And they associate that positive dopamine hit to you because like, you're the person who helped me get there. So again, we're diving into pretty deep psychology as to why a simple lead magnet is helpful.
No, this is huge because I'm going to give an example after of like how you used your exact methodology, but let's let you finish here.
Okay, and so that's the SAG, goal oriented, and ease is simply easy. Again, there's this like weird belief out there, I believe, and I don't know where it's come from, but the belief is like the more complicated you can make something, the more smarter you appear. And I think in today's day and age, that is not the case. Like today, the simpler you can curate something, the easier it is for someone to apply that and get a result, the more of a category king that you seem. So, you know, we always tell people, make it as easy as possible. I could say, if I was teaching someone how to lose weight, I could say, well, make sure you buy an airplane ticket and fly to the Himalayas. And when you get there, you're going to find this one mountain. You've got to climb all the way up that mountain. And on the top of that mountain, there's going to be a guru there waiting with his arms crossed. And you got to catch him at the right time of the day when the sun is in the right space at the right time. Ask him the right question. He'll give you the magic password to get a knife, to go cut a lemon off a tree, squeeze it a certain way, put it into your juice. And if you squeeze that and drink it at the right time of tomorrow at the dawn, when all the stars are aligned, you will lose 4 pounds. And they'll be like, you know what, dude, get the hell out of here. There's no way.
Right. Hey guys, if you like this video, you'll probably also like our free Facebook group, Beyond Agency Profits, Agency Lifestyle Design. You can get free copies of the book inside here. I look ridiculous. We're doing weekly Q&As, giving answers to all your questions. Some of the best, smartest, brightest people. We've got lots of industry leaders doing 7, 8 figures and beyond. It's a literal who's who of the brightest agency owners that I know, as well as lots of tips on scaling and stuff, books that work. So if you're not already part of it, you're going to want to be part of it. So make sure to click the link. I put it in the description of the video as well as in the pinned top comment below. So just scroll down and you can join, and it's totally free.